I had the discussion with my wife, because she always knows better than me. She says that Calibre is pronounced Calibre. And I'm like, no, but I had a call with the guy that created the tool and he says Calibre. So I just want to hear this once and for all. How do you pronounce it? I had a misconception of you. And this comes from the discussions in GitHub, right? They call you like
Mhm.
a root maintainer. I don't know, that you're sometimes harsh on people. Do you want to share something about that with us? How's the competition with other terminals? Ghostty is up in the market right now, creating a lot of new features. WezTerm has been in the market for a long time already, right? So why not use the computer like a normal person? Like go to the browser, go to the Explorer, the native Explorer,
Yeah.
and use your mouse a lot. Why all of this love for the terminal? Why do you want to be in the terminal most of the day?
So this is the browser. So it's called Vise, Vise. So you
Okay.
can see it's got tabs on the side, and it's got no Chrome at all. It's got a status bar at the bottom, but that's it.
What's gonna happen with your projects when you're gone? Is there a successor? Are there any plans, or is Kitty dead and Calibre dead when you're gone?
I'm still young enough that I don't expect to die anytime soon. So, so I of course have set up automated tooling so that when I get a long PR, I just shunt it into an AI and ask it for a summary.
Mhm.
So it don't really affect me, because if it's a long PR, I just get it summarized,
You
and
you fight AI with AI.
yes, that's the way to go.
Okay, makes sense. How would you respond to a 2009 PR that you're not gonna merge, that doesn't fit your design goal? You close it right away and you just send them
Yeah.
the finger emoji in a
No,
comment there.
I
Okay, so who started the GPU terminals? That's my question. Then was it you
yeah,
or?
I think it's a case of,
Okay,
speaking of workflows. I saw that you migrated to sessions in Kitty. How's it going for you?
I wanted to touch on that. Look, this way. This is how it's going.
If you're listening to this as a podcast, remember that it was originally recorded as a video. If you're not following along, you can go to my YouTube channel. My username is Linkarzu. And if you want to support me to keep this podcast going, you can donate in Ko-fi. I'm going to leave a link in the description. All right, so let's get started with this chapter then.
Kovid, how's it going?
Good. Good to see you again. I think it's been 2-3 months since we last talked.
Yeah, around 3-4 months, something like that.
Yeah.
I had to let you go that day because you were busy, and I still have some questions for you, and a lot of people also had a lot of questions. How much time do you have today, by the way?
I'm thinking about an hour and a half.
Okay, okay, awesome. So first of all, thanks for being here with us. It's Sunday. What time is it for you?
It's 7:30.
7:30.
Yeah.
You had a pretty busy. Oh yeah, PM. You had a busy day today.
Oh yeah, I've been working really hard on the next Kitty feature. Actually,
Oh
I was
really?
trying to get it finished in time to demo it on this video. So let's see if I succeeded.
Oh, what is it about? Do you want to share that with us?
It's I told you about it in the last talk, the Choose Files kitten. So I've kind of finished that finally, and now it has previews for images and videos and documents, stuff, and it's integrated into Kitty, so you can press a key and choose a file and insert it into your terminal prompt override.
Do you want to show it?
So, sure, why not?
Okay, I'll switch to your screen then.
Yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah, cool. So this is the Choose Files kitten. So for example, here I'm in Kitty at a prompt. So I press a shortcut, which is configurable, but whatever. So here you get the Choose Files kitten. You can go down and look at things, and you can see on the right hand side, you can see that there's a syntax highlighted preview of text files.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you later that the different types of previews, and you can type anything you want to, like a fuzzy finder, basically. So let's get the setup file that's right there. Or if you want something deep inside, let's see the more control. So you get, you can. It's the usual thing. Everybody's familiar with this. But the nice part is that it's integrated into Kitty. So like if I press enter here, you see that the file I selected, remote control.py, is inserted into my prompt. I can if ls is obviously a trivial command, but it could be a more complicated command. So, rather than using a fuzzy finder integrated into your shell, you can use one integrated into your terminal. But of course, this is not all that the choose files kitten has. So I'll just show you some examples of the different types of preview. So you can see here there's a video preview. There's the previous text file preview, syntax highlighting, there's animated images. Then, my other project, Calibre. So this is integrated with Calibre to give you a preview of eBooks, documents. So you can see here in the right panel, there's the title, the authors, and the cover of the book. This is a good book, by the way. I recommend it. So even for docx files, for example, you get the title and authors. There's no cover, but you get some metadata about it. So that's the choose files kitten's basic functionality. But the really cool part about the choose files kitten is it integrates, at least on Linux, it integrates with your GUI programs as well. So let me start up, my favorite GUI program, Calibre itself. So when I click the Add Books button here, instead of the usual file open dialog, I get the choose files kitten.
Okay.
So you can see at the bottom here, you can see the filter that you get in usual GUI dialogs with different types of files. So you actually have that here as well, and you can choose files. And so, for example, if I choose breakneck and press enter, it gets added to Calibre. So it integrates with the GUI programs, which is a big advantage for me because I like to we do fuzzy finding everywhere. So now I can do it in my GUI programs as well, not just in say Vim or the terminal.
And does it work on the browser? Does this
Yes, it does. So I'll show you an example of that. If you can still see my screen.
Yep.
So this is a regular Chrome, Google Chrome browser. So let me choose the save function, which is somewhere here. Save page as. Okay. And there you see the choose files kitten has opened, and I can say page.
So this basically hijacks the system, whatever thing is used to. Now, you're on Linux, I'm on macOS, and I hate that prompt that shows up when I'm on a macOS because it just takes me out of my flow, right? So I have to go to Finder, the small pop-up, and I have to search. It's horrible. Will this work in macOS or just Linux?
I haven't found a way to make it work in macOS. Apple doesn't give you at least that I know of. It give you the sort of integration points. So far it's Linux only, but maybe somebody who knows a little bit more about macOS can contribute a PR to get to work there as well.
Hopefully, there's a lot of macOS users in the Kitty community. So
yes. So I mean, this is something that I'm going to use a lot myself. So I spent the last month working on this, and it was quite a task. So the previews that I showed you, the image and videos and stuff. So the choose files kitten is written in Go, like all kittens in Kitty, and so Go doesn't have very good imaging libraries. So I actually had to write my own. So I had to write my own parser for something called ICC color profiles, which is sort of how you interpret colors in image files to get them on the screen. So there's a whole spec for that, 100-page spec for that. I had to implement that, and I had to do a whole bunch of other stuff to get the imaging libraries in a form that was good enough for my use case here. So I spent the last month and a half doing that. It was just about finished, just in time for today.
For today, let me ask you something. Why do you create all these protocols and stuff? Is it to make your job easier? Is it fun, or what happens there?
Both. So I am a big I love to hack on my own tools. I have my own productivity shortcuts. Like I actually have written my own browser, which I use rather than Chrome or Firefox or whatever. Similarly, I wrote my own terminal. I have my own desktop manager. I don't have my own window manager yet, but maybe someday. But yeah, so I like to do this because in the long run, I find that the time I spend on this it comes back to me multiplied. So I save much more time in the long run than I do building it. And of course, in the case of Kitty, many people can use it. So it's kind of a gift to the world as well. And yes, it's fun. I learn new things. Like I told you about the ICC color profile thing. I knew nothing about color profiles before I started that, but I learned all about it. So it's a new thing I learned, and I find coding fun. So I just keep doing it. And over the years, I built up a whole suite of tools of my own that I use.
Okay, to make your job easier. Now, when you're working on something and there's something that itches, right? You do something and you say, okay, I can improve this in my workflow. I can fix it. Do you stop your work and go and fix that? Or you live with the pain of that itch there, continue your work and you fix it later? Like, do you over optimize?
It depends. It depends on how boring the work is. If I'm doing something fun and work-wise, then I keep doing it. But if I have some time, or if I'm, doing something boring and I want to procrastinate, then I go and dive into. So, like for example, the choose files kitten I kind of have the excuse that it's sort of work. Like it's for Kitty, other people will use it. It's not just for me. So, but I mean, if it was not for my own personal use case, I would never have spent so much time on it.
Okay.
But yeah. It's like both Kitty and Calibre are tools that I myself use a lot. That is why I spend so much time on them, and that's why I polish all their bugs. I fix all their bugs and polish all the rough edges and stuff. I like to, the principle of dog fooding. I like to use what I build, and that's the best way to keep its quality high.
Definitely. What file manager do you use? Because that's something that I struggle with a lot, because I'm on macOS. I use Finder, or I use another proprietary one, because I need to copy files from here to there, especially videos, so and I don't enjoy that because I have to leave the terminal. How do you manage? Do you use a file manager, something you custom built? Do you use Yazi or what?
I just use shell commands. I don't use a file manager. I use CP and MV and prints.
Okay.
I don't actually. So like this choose files kitten I showed, I demoed how I can use it to select files and insert them into the prompt. So now I'm going to be using, I just finished it today, but I'll be using it in the future. So when I want to copy a file that's somewhere deep inside a folder hierarchy, I can just press a key and get the choose files kitten, select that file, and it'll insert it into the CP command line, and that's so yeah. But I mostly just use shell commands. I don't actually use a file manager.
Okay. Now, I have a question for you as well. I had the discussion with my wife, because she always knows better than me. She says that Calibre is pronounced Calibre. And I'm like, no, but I had a call with the guy that created the tool, and he says Calibre. So I just want to hear this once and for all. How do you pronounce it?
It's Calibre. So it's the British spelling or the Indian spelling.
Okay.
In British or Indian English, BRE is pronounced as BER.
Okay.
So the name was actually chosen by my wife, since we're talking about wives. And so it has a lot of, so the Libre, it's pronounced as Calibre, but there's a Libre in it. So that sounds, that's like sort of free software. And then Calibre is, like a high caliber product. And I was in California when I named it. So the Cal is from California. There's a whole bunch of stuff. It's actually in the Calibre FAQ.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you about the name as well. I also read about the name, the Kitty name. I spoiled it for myself because I already know the history, but for people watching, why did you choose that name, Kitty? There's a lot of people, myself included, that didn't like the name Kitty because I don't like cats. Well, but where did it come from?
Well, two places. One was that I lost my cat of 10 years, passed away. And so the name and the logo, the Kitty logo is actually something I drew myself as a tribute to my cat. Her cat's name was Luigi.
Luigi?
So Yes, lychee. It's a fruit. It's the name of a fruit.
Oh, the red ones. I love
Yes,
those.
yes,
We're in
yes, yes.
season.
Right.
Where I live, it's season right now. Well, last month I
It's a
ate.
season here as well. It's season here as well. So anyway, that was one place the name came from, the name of the logo. The other thing is that it stands for Covid's TTY.
Cold's TTY.
Covid's TTY.
Okay.
So the KI is from Kovid and the TTY is TTY.
Okay.
And of course, I wanted a word with TTY in it, and there aren't that many.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So you had to make it work then.
Yes.
Okay. Now, just to learn a little bit more about your background and history, right? Would you mind sharing with us how did it all get started? How did you get started with computers? You went to study at Caltech, right? So you moved from India to the United States to study, then you went back. So how did you get started with computers? Do you want to share with us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I started with computers because my mother was doing a PhD in economics, and she got a ZX Spectrum. There's a really old computer that it's basically a keyboard, and it connects to your TV. It used to run a form of basing. So she used to use it for her thesis work, and I of course used it for other things. So at the age of 7, I had to bug up multiplication tables. In school, they make you mug up multiplication tables. So I said, what the hell, I don't want to do this. So I sat and wrote a program on my Spectrum to print out the multiplication tables. It had colors and everything, and it was a nice tabular form. So that was my first sort of programming experience. And then the other thing I used to do on that Spectrum is my mother got me this book which had the source code of various games written in BASIC, printed out in the book.
Oh.
So I basically used to type those in and fix the errors and whatever, and at the end of my efforts have a game to play. So that was how I started programming. Programming has been a hobby for me throughout my life. So I think I've been using Linux now for 30 years. So yeah, it was always a hobby for me. So I wanted to be a physicist. I remember after my junior college, which is sort of at the age of 18, I took a year off from my education. I wanted to just do other stuff. And I remember writing something in Java, which was supposed to simulate the human brain. So it had a very similar ideas to the basis of AI nowadays. It had neurons and feedback and shit. It didn't go anywhere, but that was an interesting project I did in my youth. And so my modern programming, open source programming career really started with something called Super Caramba, which is the KDE desktop had a widget system. This was back in KDE 3 days. It had a widget system called Super Caramba, in which you had to write widgets, in Python, and they'll show up on your desktop and whatever. So in those days, I never used to get much email. I was not a well-known person, just a student. So I had a lot of time. So I said, okay, no, it doesn't matter if I don't get a lot of email. Let me write a widget that shows the different emails in different folders and stuff like that on my desktop. So I wrote that, I released it, and that was my first open source release. And then to do that, I learned Python, and then I ended up using Python in my thesis work for some numerics for quantum computing. There was a lattice-based quantum computer simulation I had to do with that in Python partly. And then after that, what happened was that Sony released its PRS 500, which was the first e-ink-based eBook reader. I was in the US at the time. And at the time, I had a little handheld device called a MyTac Neo, which was a GPS device. I used to use it to navigate around the place. I wasn't familiar with the city too much. And so you could hack it and read plain text files on it. So I used to download plain text files from Project Gutenberg or wherever, and read them on that. So when Sony announced its e-ink reader, I was all over it. And the day that it was released, I went to the Sony store and I picked it up. But when I got back, I was home. I was horrified to realize that it was used a proprietary USB protocol. It required software from Sony. It only worked on Windows. So this was not good, not something I could let stand. So I went online. I looked for what do I do? Like, how do I get this to work with Linux? And I found a community called mobileread.com, of which I'm still a member. And there were a lot of enthusiasts there, mobile reading enthusiasts. And with the help of some of them, I wrote what's called libprs 500, which was sort of like a library to talk to this device. I remember I used to print out USB traces from the device. And in my lunch break, I would take it over to a nearby Baja Burrito, where I used to get a burrito. And I used to eat the burrito and look over those USB traces and try to reverse engineer the USB protocol. So that was a fun, the grad students have a lot of time. So that was a fun sort of side project. And I ended up releasing libprs 500. And eventually that went on to become Calibre.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I added a GUI and, I released it for Windows and macOS.
Okay. That's how Calibre was born. So you're not a programmer by profession, right? So you're a theoretical physicist, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do a lot of programming there, or your programming background helped you a lot in your career?
So I was a physicist for 10 years. I quit after I got my PhD. I worked full time on Calibre. But so during my PhD itself, I did a fair bit of programming. Like I said, I had to do some numerical simulations of quantum computing. But most of my work was mathematical, theoretical. It wasn't really programming for reality.
Do you enjoy that still? Theoretical?
Yes. Yes. I keep in touch. I read a few papers and keep abreast of things.
Okay. Now, what does your family and your wife think of you leaving Caltech to work on open source? Because you mentioned that in the other video, right? That you left because your wife had a job, so then you quit your job, I think, and then you guys moved back to India or something. So
so basically what happened was that we were both in grad school. We were both physicists. And at the time, we were graduating. We were both graduating roughly the same time, 6 months difference or something. And we had to find a job as a postdoc or whatever. So now the problem with finding jobs when you're both physicists is it's really difficult to find a job in the same place because there aren't that many openings. And so, like any given university might have an opening for one person, but not for two in the same department. So it's really difficult to find. It's called the two-body problem in physics. So anyway, so at the time I was doing Calibre as a side thing, but the thing was that I was making enough money from it that I was making like something like $1,000 a month at the time. I thought that that's good enough. I can sort of grow this and whatever. And so I talked to my wife, and we decided that she'll take a job wherever she gets it, and I'll just join her and work on Calibre, and then we'll see how it goes. And it went really well, so that was history.
Okay, and are you happy with that decision of working in full-time in open source? Or sometimes you look back at it and you're like, man, I should have continued in, physics and all that stuff.
No, I'm very happy with open source. So the reason I wanted to be a physicist, part of the reason, apart from liking physics, of course, is that I wanted to be an academic because I felt that they had a lot of freedom and, flexibility to work on what they wanted and to work on what they wanted to work and so on. But the thing is that, actually speaking, nowadays, at least, academics don't have that much freedom. You have to spend a lot of time getting funding, grants, teaching, whatever. You don't get as much freedom as I would like. I actually think I have more freedom to work on whatever I want, doing Calibre, Kitty, open source work. I don't have any bosses. I'm not dependent on funding agency. I don't have to write grant proposals. I just have to keep a few million users happy.
You're living the Linux life, right? The open source life. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I had a misconception of you before the interview, and a lot of people do as well. You have your water there, right? I think you're gonna need it. Yeah.
Not
So,
yet. Yeah.
and this comes from the discussions in GitHub, right? They call you like
Mhm.
a root maintainer. I don't know, that you're sometimes harsh on people. Do you want to share something about that with us?
Well, the thing is that I deal with about 50 to 100 pieces of user interaction every single day, 365 days a year. I've been doing that for 20 years. And after a point, being friendly is just not sustainable. I mean, I am a friendly person in person. I think so. At least I feel so.
Oh no,
I
for
don't have any
sure.
complaints. I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
any complaints from people in my life. But when online, it becomes day after day, day after day, answering the same questions, the same. You just tend to lose. You just
Yep.
can't maintain that level of friendliness. It's not. It's not sustainable. So I have this philosophy where I like to be at zero bugs.
Mhm.
Any bug that is reported to me and that I can reproduce or understand, I fix immediately. Or immediately means within the next few days, whatever. But
Mhm. Mhm.
as soon as possible. I don't like to leave bugs open.
Mhm.
Um, but then the flip side of that is that, in a sense, the entire world has a direct line into my inbox.
Yeah.
So anybody
Yeah.
who opens a bug report, it can tend to distract me from my work. It can whatever. So I tend to be extremely short and blunt and whatever when I am dealing with bug reports, because I deal with so many and I like to deal with them fast,
Mm.
and that's the only way it's sustainable for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know lots of people think I'm rude or arrogant or whatever, but okay, that's the price I pay.
Yeah, we were talking about that with Justin the other day. He's the lead maintainer in Neovim, and I was like, Ben,
Mhm.
but imagine having two projects as big as Calibre and Kitty. I wouldn't have the time, and I would be even worse. I would be like, no, because many issues a day. Which tool gets more issues and discussions, Calibre or Kitty?
Um, so over its lifetime, Calibre by far. In the last year or two, it's been Kitty, because I've been focusing a little more on Kitty and a little less on Calibre.
Hmm.
So there's been less releases in Calibre and less new features. So at the moment it's Kitty, but over their entire lifetime, it's Calibre by far. I mean, Calibre has some 3 million active users. And Kitty is not in that ballpark.
How's the competition with other terminals? Ghostty is
Uh,
up in the market right now, creating a lot of new features. WezTerm has been in the market for a long time already, right? So Ghostty, WezTerm, what else do we have right now? Kitty, of course, the main ones.
um, I don't pay too much attention.
No?
Like I said, I write these things for myself. So,
Uh-huh.
and I don't really need them to succeed. Um, like Calibre has given me all the success I really need. So for Kitty is very much a passion project. I love terminal workflows and I want to make them better and more powerful. And Kitty
Mhm.
is basically doing that. So, I wanted to push forward the terminal ecosystem. So, add support for images, add support for the keyboard events, so on. And so Kitty was kind of my platform to do that. So the origin story of Kitty is really that um, I was using a GUI based Vim,
Mhm.
GVim,
Oh, okay.
and it
I use that
was
on Windows. Yep.
yes. So this was a long time ago, more than 10 years ago. Um, so there was some problem. I don't remember exactly what it was now. It was slow or something, and so I wanted to switch to terminal Vim. But terminal Vim was even slower, and I sort of profiled it, and I found that the reason was that the terminal was slow.
Mhm.
At the time, the terminal, whatever terminal I was using, I don't remember now, maybe console, maybe something else.
Mhm.
It was slow. And I kind of analyzed the problem, and I thought that I can do better.
Ha.
And um, and there's another thing that I really missed going from GWim to terminal Vim, which was the squiggly colored underlines
Yep.
where you get errors,
The spell.
and so
Yep.
that was not available in terminals at all. So I initially wrote Kitty to do two things: to be fast and to have squiggly underlines.
Mhm.
And so that is how Kitty was born. And then once I developed it, because my workflow is sort of totally terminal based. I use Mutt, I use Vim. Most of my tools, apart from the browser and Calibre itself, are run in the terminal.
Mhm.
So, I wanted to add more capability so that my tools could be more capable running the terminal. So I wanted to add images for that reason. Better keyboard shortcuts for that reason. So that's how I keep adding features. So like recently I added the ability to Kitty to have different size text. So you can have headings that are big and so on.
Yeah.
So that's again because I want to like browse a markdown file in my terminal and I want to be able to see the headings in big font. A basic thing like that.
Okay.
So just to make my own life better.
Now, why all of this love for the terminal? Like, let me ask it a different way. Why not use the computer like a normal person? Like, go to the browser, go to the Explorer, the native Explorer, and use your mouse a lot. Why all of this love for the terminal? Why do you want to be in the terminal most of the day?
Mostly because terminal-based workflows are keyboard first. So you can do a lot more with the keyboard than in most GUI programs. And there's nothing there's no reason that it has to be this way. You can make a GUI program that is perfectly keyboard driven, but it so happens that it doesn't end up like that. So and so the thing is that I spend most of my time working in a handful of programs throughout the day, right? It's not like I'm using 100 different programs. So when you are spending most of your time in a handful of programs, it makes sense to optimize them. It's not an undue burden to learn the keyboard shortcuts. It's not an undue burden to write some macros, automation, whatever, the kind of thing. And so terminal-based workflows are much more conducive to that, generally speaking. And so that's why I tend to stick to the terminal as much as possible.
Okay. And do other people around you understand your passion for the terminal? Or they're like, because my wife doesn't get it. She's like, what is this guy doing? Like, and I configure my keyboard, home row mods and all that stuff. And she's like, and I don't use the number row. I don't use the F row on my keyboard. And she's like, man, you're just, and I try not to use the mouse. And I try to explain to her, okay, look, if you do this, you don't need to use the mouse, like the motions and all that stuff. And she's like, man, no. So do other people around you understand this passion that you have for terminals?
Not my immediate family, no. Nobody else is. I mean, my wife uses Linux. My children used to use Linux, but off late they've switched to Windows. But yeah, none of them are terminal fans.
No. Okay.
So, like for example, I work on a laptop with a small screen. I don't even have a mouse. So my laptop has a touchpad and a track point. So Lenovo, it has the really great track point thing. So I've disabled the touchpad and I just use the track point. And the track point is quite awkward to use. It's not as convenient as a mouse. So I try to completely avoid using the mouse. So like, for example, I told you I use my own browser. So I don't know if you can see my screen still, but
let me share it.
Yeah. So this is the browser. So it's called Vise, Vise.
Okay.
So you can see it's got tabs on the side and, it's got no Chrome at all. It's got a status bar at the bottom, but that's it. So, and like for example, if you want to follow links, you press the F key and all the links are highlighted. You can tap a key and follow it. So there's no need to click things.
Okay.
Then it has a command line where you can enter commands and open URLs and so on. And the nice part of it is that this facility to open URLs, I can actually use it inside Vim. So if I do that, you get a URL and say I do GitHub, and so that you see that the URL gets inserted into Vim.
And it got it from the browser, from Vise,
right? It got it from the browser, yes.
Oh, okay.
So this is really. Sorry, I'm switching back to the.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is really useful for me because, like I said, I deal with a lot of user communication, and so a lot of user queries can be answered with links to help resources, right? And so all those links are there in my browser history because I've visited them. So at some point many years ago, I decided to make this accessible everywhere in my system, so I could look at my current browser history and easily fuzzy find URLs from it and insert them into Vim or insert them into my user response automation tools and so on. And and then the ability to follow links without having to use the mouse and stuff. So all those kind of things. There used to be a Firefox extension, Pentadactyl, I think. I used to use that for the link following features, but then it got the Firefox changed its extension mechanisms and made it more restrictive or something. And so it stopped working so well. So I decided to write my own browser so that I won't be dependent on Firefox or Chrome or whatever.
Okay.
So my browser is basically a wrapper around Chromium by a Qt web engine, and it's not for public consumption. It's not that polished. But it does whatever I need it to do. So
that's what matters. What limitations do you find in Vise? Do you find any limitations?
Not really. No, I use it for pretty much everything. Because it's got Chromium as its engine.
Yeah.
So
okay.
There are no.
Okay. And is it a project that is open to the public so everyone can install it? There's documentation and all that, or
it's on GitHub, but like I said, it's not really for public consumption. It's it's not as configurable or polished or whatever as my usual projects are.
Okay.
This is pretty much a personal use thing because I decided I thought about making it for public consumption, but the amount of effort needed to sort of polish it to that level is a little too high. I mean, and there are already tools like this. There's something called Qt Browser, which is basically the same thing. It uses a web engine and with its own UI and so on. So at the time I wrote Vise, Qt Browser didn't exist or had various problems. I don't remember, but nowadays, if anybody asks, I say you just use Qt Browser.
Okay. Now, when you are about to deploy a new project, do you think of the amount of issues and discussions that it will generate and all of the time that it will take away from you? Like this Vise browser, for example, if you make it public, you know that 100 or 1,000 or more than 1,000 issues are coming your way. So do you think about that? Does that hold you back a little bit as well?
So in the case of Vise, it did, because mostly because it wasn't something I enjoyed very much. It's basically writing a UI on top of Chrome, which is not that exciting for me. So I didn't feel like, doing that work. So I decided not to release it publicly. But like I said, I mean, Calibre has 3 million active users. I have a huge stream of, bug reports and user interactions already. So most projects don't even make a dent in that. Like I have several dozen open source projects. Apart from Kitty, all the rest of them put together don't make a dent in my workload.
Okay. Now, in the previous call, you also mentioned that your projects are, a buzz factor of 1, right? So what's gonna happen with your projects when you're gone? Is there a successor? Are there any plans, or is Kitty dead and Calibre dead when you're gone?
I have no idea. I haven't made any plans.
No.
I'm still young enough that I don't expect to die anytime soon. So, yeah. Like I said, so there are a lot of things that I should do. Like set up governance and set up some sort of organization, whatever. I just, I prefer to code. I don't like spending time on that kind of stuff. So both Calibre and Kitty have, especially Calibre, less Kitty, have very long-term contributors. Many people who have contributed to it over the years, many years. In fact, one of the long-term, actually not one, but 2 of the long-term Calibre contributors have actually passed away. Because Calibre, one of the main sort of demographics that love Calibre is older people, because eBooks are very useful for older people because you can increase the font size, and so that's like, even I myself am now old enough that I find that a really big point in favor of eBooks. But yeah, so as a result, a lot of Calibre contributors tended to be retired software professionals, and they had the time, they had the interest, and so there are a lot of contributors, and I would hope that if I pass away, somebody will take over maintenance. But I don't have any sort of designated successor or formal process for it.
Okay.
It's open source. Anyone can fork it and continue it.
Do you have any maintainers in Kitty that are pretty active and that know it in and out, or you're just you're the only one?
No, Kitty, it's pretty much free. Kitty doesn't have any. I mean, Kitty has had a lot of pull requests from lots of people. It has hundreds of contributors, but nobody who's sort of stuck around and doing a lot of continuous work. There have been some pretty impressive pull requests. I mean, I always get amazed when I get pull requests from somebody who has done a deep dive on the code base and understood a lot and made a pull request that sort of touches on the internals, the hairy bits. I've had quite a few of such pull requests. There are, I think, about 5 or 6 people who have sent me such pull requests. So it's not that the code base is completely inscrutable, but yes, I am the main maintainer for Kitty pretty much as of now.
Okay. Now that you mentioned PRs, there's a new trend because of AI of sending, like those 2,000 line added generated PRs, and they're AI generated, right? And you can tell. Has that happened to you, and what are your thoughts?
So interestingly enough, I got a PR for adding AI functionality to Calibre that was written by an AI. But it was not an AI alone. There was a person behind it. It was a sincere effort. It was not a spam or whatever. And in fact, I ended up merging that PR eventually. So from the perspective of a maintainer, my sort of key thing is that people who send me both issues and PRs should keep it as succinct and short as possible. Because very often just reading through that whole wall of text is a waste of time. So, or at least summarize things at the beginning well, and then have your wall of text. So I, of course, have set up automated tooling so that when I get a long PR, I just shunt it into an AI and ask it for a summary. So it doesn't really affect me, because if it's a long PR, I just get it summarized.
You fight AI with AI.
Yes, that's the way to go.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so it's okay. I mean, as long as there's a human being behind it and it's not spam, I'm fine with getting AI-based PRs. I don't mind if the code is written by AI as well, as long as the human being is signing off on it and saying that, I understand this code, I've read this code, whatever. And I have to review the code either way, whether it's written by a human or an AI. It doesn't really change my workload.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, if people want to use AI and send me PRs, that's fine, as long as, you're sincere about it, you're making a, good faith effort. I'm happy to entertain your PRs.
Okay, so if it's a really long PR, you send it over to an AI to quickly see what it's doing and have a better idea, so you don't waste your time, right?
Yes, because very often, PR might need to be rewritten. It may not match my design goals. I don't need to review the whole thing to say that, right? If I can just get an idea that all this has to be fixed first, I can just quickly send that response, and then the people can come back and do edit it and change it, and then I can review it in more detail. And that's good for the contributor, the PR sender as well, because they get feedback quickly.
Yeah.
So I think I said earlier, I have this zero bugs philosophy. It's the same for PRs. I don't like to leave them hanging around. If for whatever reason I have to leave something hanging around, I always make it a point to say, I'm busy right now. It's going to take me maybe a month or whatever to get to this. So, I don't like to leave things unanswered as much as possible.
Okay. You don't like that to accumulate in the backlog. So how would you respond to a 2009 PR that you're not gonna merge, that doesn't fit your design goal? You close it right away and you just send them the finger emoji in a comment there?
I write a couple of lines explaining why it's not a fit, and I close it. And and I say, if the person is pushy about it, then I say that it's open source. You're free to fork it and maintain your own fork with your features.
Okay. Now, in the previous call, also you mentioned, and right now you mentioned that terminals were slow at the time. So you decided to go GPU accelerated, and you learned OpenGL. And I was wondering, did Alacritty exist already when you decided to start with Kitty, or Kitty came first?
No. There were pretty much contemporaneous. I think Alacritty's announcement was about a week before Kitty's. So Kitty existed for about a year before that, but I hadn't released it publicly. So they're pretty much contemporaneous.
Oh, okay.
I guess it was the time had come for GPU-based terminals.
Okay, so who started the GPU terminals? That's my question. Then, was it you?
Yeah,
Or?
I think it's a case of simultaneous evolution.
Okay.
So different people came up with the idea at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay.
So, but like Alacritty's performance, I mean, its focus has always been only performance. I mean, performance is important to me, obviously, but it's not my main goal, and it's not the only thing that Kitty is good at. So the performance for me was kind of like table stakes. Yeah, I wanted to expand the terminal ecosystem, move it forward. I knew that to do that, I needed to have a terminal that's compelling for users, and performance is a big part of that. So the performance was the basic thing. I had to get the performance in place so that I could then build on it. So for me, performance is a substrate. It's table stakes. It's the basic thing that you get right, and then you build on it. So
okay.
Whereas I mean, I don't want to speak for Alacritty. I don't know too much about it. I mean, as far as I know, it's a great terminal. But from what I know, it's kind of conservative about adding features. It has relatively few features. That's its philosophy. That's a fine philosophy. Nothing wrong with that. But Kitty is very much about seeing what you can do with terminals. For somebody who lives in the terminal, wants to make it as powerful as possible. Enable advanced workflows and so on. Okay. Speaking of workflows, I saw that you migrated to sessions in Kitty. How's it going for you?
I wanted to touch on that. Look, this way. This is how it's going, man. Because like in our previous call, you remember we talked about tmux, your favorite tool of all times, right? So, I didn't know a different way of using the terminal. I use tmux, and the reason I use tmux is because of sessions, right? But let me show you right now real quick. I don't think you'll be able to see it, right? But I have my Kitty sessions. Can you see it a little bit there? It's on your phone, I think, right?
I've got it on my laptop as well now, thanks to your second channel.
Oh,
so
awesome.
I can see it quite well.
So I have my sessions. I can switch to my .files pretty fast. I can switch to my blog post if I want .files again. Because that's what I like doing. I like keeping the sessions that I use the most a key press away, right? So if I want to go back to my daily note, to what we were looking at right now, and I did this with tmux in the past, right? But it adds that additional layer, right? And I felt it a little bit slower. You don't feel it that much, but if you spend a lot of the day in the terminal or most of the day in the terminal, you feel it when it's gone. So I feel that it improved a little bit, and one less tool. And I haven't been using tmux for over 2 months, I think, and yeah, it's been great. Do you use sessions or you don't?
I don't use sessions. I actually have my own sort of solution for that existed long before Kitty. So I haven't felt the need for sessions personally, which is why it took so long for me to add sessions to Kitty, because I didn't need it personally. In fact, in my interview with you was something that moved it up in the to-do list a little bit.
And what was your solution?
So I kind of have, I use Hyperland as my window manager currently, but I actually have a sort of extension for it of my own that allows me to do various things. So I can actually, I use that as my integration point for creating a session, not the terminal.
The window
because
manager.
This existed a long time ago, before I had Kitty. So I haven't migrated that workflow yet to Kitty. Maybe I'll do that in the future, but so far, it's working for me, and I've been using it for a decade plus. So originally I used to use i3 on X11, so it used to work there, and then I migrated to Sway on Wayland, and I ported it to work there. Then I migrated to Hyperland, and I've ported it to work there. So it's been going strong for a long time. So,
okay. And do you mind demoing how you use sessions there? I'm not a Linux user. I don't know if you knew, but I use Mac mainly.
So So mostly I have key presses that open things easily. So for example, if I want to switch to Kitty, I just press a key press. And so right now I don't have a Kitty session, but there you go. That's a Kitty stress. That's a Kitty session. So three key presses. And so the thing is that I don't have my terminal integrated with my editor because, like I told you, originally I used to use Gvim. And I switched to terminal Vim. So this workflow's actually existed since those days. So I used to have my terminal separate. So what I have is I have a single key press that gets me to my terminal, and the terminal is connected to my sort of sessions. So when I open a session there, the terminal automatically goes to the the corresponding directory and is ready for action.
Okay.
It's not 100% efficient because it would actually be better if I moved it all into Kitty and use Kitty sessions. But I just haven't got around to doing that.
Yeah, it takes time. It took me quite some time to migrate away from tmux, because then you have to think about the scroll back, But I love that I can use Kitty scroll back. I'm just opening Neovim right now with the scroll back. I don't have colors, but Justin from the Neovim team told me that this is something available in Neovim 0.12, right? So if I do this right now, and if I bring up the scroll back, if I press the letter M on my keyboard, brings it up, right? I don't have colors at the moment, but I do have like numbers, and I have the jump plugin here. So if I want to jump here, I can do it. So it's awesome. But
and I see you're using cursor trails as well.
Yeah, I am using the trails as well. Yep.
Yeah, the cursor trails was actually a contribution, a PR from someone. It was not something that was on my radar, but I was happy to merge it. It's quite a popular feature.
Yeah, it's pretty popular because that's something that Ghostty came up with, and everyone's like cursor trail. So yeah, you cannot stay behind. Yeah. So,
no, Kitty had cursor trails about a year before Ghostty.
Oh,
Kitty was the first. Kitty was the first terminal to have cursor trails. It was copied from neovide, which is not a terminal.
Yeah, I've used neovide, and I like the cursor trails there. Yeah.
So the contributor who contributed it to Kitty copied it from neovide. And Ghostty implemented it very recently, I think a few months back. Kitty's had it for more than a year.
Oh, okay. And going back to Alacritty, I think Alacritty is intended to be used with tmux. I'm not sure. Well, or is it intended to be used with your window manager? Since you mentioned, right?
Yeah, either one works, I guess. So the tmux thing never made sense to me. Like Alacritty's big selling point was that it's the speed, but then if you run 10 tmux inside it, its performance sucks. The end user performance sucks, so it never made any sense to me. I have in fact on the Kitty benchmark page, I benchmark various terminals using a benchmark tool, everything. And so Alacritty does well, but then when you do Alacritty plus tmux, the performance halves. It really halves. Yes. So it just doesn't make sense. When using it with a window manager, fine, yes, that's good. But with tmux, the performance thing, if you care about performance, you really don't want to be using tmux.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about tmux a lot in the previous video. So if someone has questions about tmux, go and watch that interview. Kovid shares all his thoughts on tmux, right? Not your favorite tool. And
I don't want to sound too negative. tmux has its uses. It's people, especially for people who like to use it on remote servers or whatever. It makes sense. It's useful too. But it has certain downsides that I think outweigh its usefulness. But yeah, anyway, that's my opinion.
Okay. And I was going to ask you about that as well, right? Because the only... I was using tmux locally, right, to manage my sessions locally, but it doesn't make much sense, right? How would you manage that situation then, in which you need to open something that stays, active the whole time on the remote server and that you can attach to it? Is that something that you do or you don't do at all?
Yes. So for example, I mentioned using computation in my grad work. So part of that, I had to log into a powerful supercomputer and run jobs. And those would take days to run. And so I
yeah,
used to
you cannot depend on SSH for them, right?
Yeah. So I used to run them in screen.
Okay.
Back then. So I didn't use it for multiplexing. I just used it for persisting that job so that I could disconnect and reconnect whenever I need to. And this was not a TUI that I was running inside. It was just a simple program that printed out some stuff. I mean, it didn't matter. The screen screwed up the terminal emulation or whatever. It didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, nowadays there are a lot of other options. You can use disown in a shell, and that mostly works as long as you don't lose your connection. And nowadays connections are pretty stable. I mean, back then it was still an issue that connections used to drop, but nowadays, at least for most people, that's not really an issue anymore. So like Kitty, for example, has an SSH kitten. So that uses SSH control masters and automatically multiplexes multiple windows into one SSH connection. So yes, if you lose your connection, then all those windows are screwed. You lose everything. But at least for me personally, that doesn't happen anymore. It's very rare that I lose connection to my servers. So it's not an issue that I face myself. That said, I do have it is on my long-term to-do list to write a tool that would do remote session persistence properly, not like tmux or stream, not by emulating a terminal. Instead, it will be a server that talks to your terminal emulator and just it will be as thin and transparent a wrapper as possible. It'll actually use a single pseudo terminal per job rather than trying to have multiple windows on one pseudo terminal device. So that negates most of the disadvantages of terminal multiplexers. So that's on my to-do list to do. But yeah, as you can imagine, a very long to-do list.
Yeah. So you would start a process on the server, like Kitty, whatever, Kitty master, whatever, you start it there, and then you just attach to that process from your local machine.
Yes. You can attach over it with SSH or over a TCP or whatever. It doesn't matter. So like Kitty, for example, has a remote control facility, which you can do using Unix sockets, network TCP networking, even pipes. And so it'd be something similar. The remote end would start a server that would listen on whatever you configure it to listen on, and then you connect to that however you like. You connect it over SSH, you could connect over plain TCP, HTTP, whatever. Whatever transport. The transport is not important, but to be flexible. And then if you drop the connection drops, you just reconnect. And it will maintain the state. But the important distinction from tmux and friends is that it won't multiplex. It'll leave the multiplexing to the terminal, which can do it properly, and it'll just preserve state. So each new program, each new window that you create would have its own TTY device, and it would correspond to a local TTY device, and data would be forwarded between them, but there would be no translation in the middle. So that, like I talked about it in my previous interview about how the problem with multiplexers is, they have to translate the STM codes to make the split screen and so on work. So there won't be any of that. So that greatly mitigates the main disadvantage of the terminal-based multiplexers.
Yeah, because what you care about is that the process remains active on the server. It doesn't matter if you disconnect or not, right? What you care about is that whatever you were doing there keeps running in the background and you can attach to it whenever you want, right? Doesn't matter if you disconnect from it or not. Okay.
So there's a program called detach. I think it's available on GitHub. You can use that does something like this. There's shpool, which is a multiplexer that, again, it tries to be as thin and layer as possible, not doing actual multiplexing, just persistence, that kind of thing. So there are solutions like this, but I would like, if I do this, I would sort of leverage the facilities that Kitty gives you, so that you get multiplexing and all the powerful features, but in a robust and well-designed way.
Okay. Now, moving to other topics, your IDE. Why did you choose Neovim, and why didn't you go with Emacs? Because it seems that Emacs has a lot of the things that you want. Single environment that does everything.
So the main reason is that I have very big hands. I'm quite tall. I'm 6'4". I have very big hands. They don't fit on most keyboards. And so the shortcuts with lots of modifiers is difficult, painful for me.
The Emacs Pinky, they say it's like broken, right?
Yes. So for me, it's a particularly bad problem because of my large hands. I mean, I could, of course, get a large keyboard or whatever, but back in those days when I was a kid and a student and all, I couldn't afford such things. And so, I had to work with whatever I had. And so to make the most of it, I thought modal editing was more suited to me. So that was the main reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not a soldier in the Emacs wars. I think they're both fine editors. I wish them both as much success as possible. For me, it just came down to big hands.
Okay. So you have any thoughts on Emacs then?
I love Emacs actually. I actually started out with Emacs, but I found the big hand problem troublesome, so I switched to Vim at some point. This is very long ago. It's more than 20 plus years ago, so I don't really remember the details anymore. Since then, I fire up Emacs once in a while, mostly to debug issues with Kitty. But yeah, other than that, I'm not really familiar with Emacs these days.
Okay. Now, what about handheld? Because you mentioned that you use your laptop keyboard and your hands are big. Aren't they like this the whole time? Have you ever thought about split keyboards?
I actually bought myself a split keyboard and started using it and taught myself to touch type and stuff. But nowadays, what I do is I have this chair. This is a massage chair, actually. But I don't care about the massage part so much. The good part is it reclines.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a lap desk, a very simple lap desk. And I put my laptop on that, and my hands, my arms, my elbows rest on the sort of armrests of the chair.
Okay.
And I'm sort of reclined. I'm reclined at about 60 degrees. And I type with my hands. I don't know if you can see them, but they're sort of straight. But the important part in carpal tunnel and RSI type things is to keep your wrist straight. There shouldn't be a bend.
They're bent, yeah. Because I used to keep mine like this, bent.
Yes, they should be straight. So because of the sort of way I arrange my entire body, even with a small laptop keyboard, I can mostly keep my hands straight. So since I've been doing this, I haven't had any issues with wrist or elbow problems. There was a time I used to have problems with my shoulders and my wrists, elbows, but I managed to fix that by sort of changing how I keep my whole body rather than just my keyboard. And so the good part is now I don't have to use any fancy keyboard. I can use a normal keyboard. And if I go traveling and I take my laptop, I'm used to the keyboard. It's not a problem.
Yep.
It's
Yeah. So, and what did you think about split keyboards? Did you hate the experience?
No, I actually liked it. I liked it enough that it motivated me to learn to touch type. So I never bothered up to that point. I mean, I type fairly fast, but I do look at the keyboard sometimes. So I used to keep the touch keyboard in my lap where I couldn't see it, and I'd stare at the screen, and then I would type. And I taught myself to touch type with it and stuff. It was good. I mean, it's something I recommend to people who are having issues if they don't want to be as radical as me and work in a reclining chair.
Yeah, we're all going that route. We're all finding ways, because I'm in my chair here. I'm not comfortable. I bought one of those standing desks. I never used it. I used it like 5 times. Now it has never gone up. Now that didn't work. So I think that's the OG way. That's the next step. I'm going to talk to my wife and she's going to be like, but now what? She's not going to be happy about it.
This was, I actually had to convince my wife to get me this as a birthday present.
Do your purchases have to go through the approval of the boss in the house? Do they have to, like, if you want to buy a new keyboard, does she have to approve it?
No, not to that level, but this was a pretty big purchase. In fact, the chair was so large that it didn't fit through the door of my room. We had to like disassemble it and bring it in and then reassemble it.
So it's like a
So
throne.
that kind of thing. That kind of thing, yes, the boss has to sign off.
It's like a throne. It's not a chair, right? So you're like the king of the house there. Okay.
And it's nice. It has a built-in massage function, so I get a massage every day, so that's nice.
Oh, that's cool. You mentioned the other day that you swim, right? Because in the previous call that we had, you mentioned that you came from swimming. Do you take swimming? Is that your sport or?
So I do two things: swimming and stair climbing. So I swim 3 days a week.
Stair climbing, okay.
Stair climbing. So then I have this big backpack, 12 kg backpack. I strap that on and I climb 185 floors. So I live in a multi-story building, so I just climb multiple rounds of it. So those are the two things I do. So I'm a big trekker. I love to trek in the mountains, the Himalayas, which is north of India. So every year, my entire family, we go for like a 3-week vacation in the Himalayas, and we go for long treks and stuff. So the stair climbing is kind of a way to stay in shape. Like now my kids are growing up and I'm growing old, so I have to keep up with them. So I do a bit of hard work to make sure I can keep up with it.
Oh, okay. And what about your knees? Don't you get scared about your knees doing the stair climbing and all that stuff?
So I do a whole bunch of warm-ups and exercises, and I wear those kneecap things, the elastic supports for your knees. So actually, as a young man, when I used to play badminton, I dislocated my kneecap. And so as a result, that knee has always been a little weak. So, but then I take good care of it. I do a lot of exercises and stuff. And the way I look at it is, you have one life. You might as well use your knees for something you enjoy while you can.
Okay.
So,
and what do you swim? You swim like in a private pool or something? You take?
So I live in a multi-story, so it has an attached gym and swimming pool and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So,
nice. Yeah. Okay. Now, you're into Calibre, right? So I assume you like to take notes. I'm not sure, but what tool do you use to take notes?
So I don't take notes.
No?
So I told you my philosophy is very much finish everything as soon as you can. So I take something and then I work on it, focus, concentrate, finish it, and then forget about it. So I write whatever notes inline as documentation. So I don't know if you've looked at say Kitty's documentation; it's quite comprehensive. So I'm making a habit to always document everything I do in a way that's accessible to other people as well. And so that serves as my notes. I look at my own documentation in the future if I need to understand something. Similarly, in the source code where I feel that there is something that's complicated or whatever, I document it right there. And that serves as my notes. I of course I also use emails as a to do list.
Okay.
So I have a very sophisticated. I told you about that funny widget system of KDE, where I wrote my first widget to track email. So ever since those days, I have a very sophisticated email system. Everything gets seed scripted and put into folders and stuff. And so I use that as a to-do list.
Okay, awesome. Now, talking about operating systems, what's your history with Linux? Why did you decide to go with Linux? Were you on Windows before? And just about your operating system history.
So, like I said, I started with a ZX Spectrum, which ran BASIC directly. It had no real OS.
Okay.
After that, my first normal Intel laptop, I think my dad got a laptop from work. And so that was my first proper laptop. And I remember playing Prince of Persia on it. As for Linux, the reason I installed it was because I'm a tinkerer. I love to tinker with things, both physical things and software. And so, Linux just, it's meant for tinkerers. So I installed, I think it was Red Hat 6. I think was the first Linux I installed ever. I think I used the KDE desktop. Again, I prefer KDE to GNOME because again, KDE is more tinker friendly than the GNOME. And so I remember when, in those days, there was no so much internet. I mean, I think if you connect to the internet through a BBS, a dial-up service, and so you couldn't download big files and stuff. And I remember I got a Linux Red Hat 6 CD from Computing Magazine. I'm not sure, I don't remember. But somehow I got the CD and I used that to install Red Hat 6. Initially, I used to dual boot with Windows, mostly for games. But then, pretty soon I switched to Linux only.
Mm-hmm.
I think from Red Hat, I moved to Gen 2, again, because of the tinkering thing. And then at some point, about 20 years ago, I think I switched to Arch. And I've been with Arch ever since then. Mostly because the compile times in Gen 2 were getting really too annoying. So I switched to Arch. I actually run Arch on all my servers as well.
Oh, really?
So
you're not scared of anything? You're not scared of anything?
No, not at all. I have the I don't know, maybe it's hubris, but I feel that any software problem, I can solve it. So
modesty apart, right? Modesty apart.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just have that attitude. I'm not scared of having a software problem. I've struggled with problems many times, but in the end, I'm able to solve them. So
okay,
yeah.
So Arch is your mainly driver then, right?
Yes.
Okay, you look more stable. You look more like a Debian person. What are your thoughts on Debian?
I've never used Debian, but I will say that it is extremely annoying as a software maintainer because it has extremely out-of-date software. So, people will try to run your up-to-date software on a system that's really old. And then there are also some issues with that you have to deal with. But other than that, I've never used it, so I don't really have much to say about it. People seem to be happy with it. More power to them.
Okay. And you mentioned you run Arch in all your servers. No GUI, I guess, just headless servers, right?
No, absolutely no GUIs.
Okay. Have you had any issues with Arch there?
None.
No?
I don't have issues with Arch. If there is an issue with some software, I just roll it back. Or I fix it myself.
Okay. And so what do you think people have issues with Arch? What would you say is the main issue? And how do you roll back? Is that something you do at the operating system level, like with snaps? I'm not sure how you guys do it, but how do you roll back?
I'm an Arch user from way before snapshot file systems existed. I do it the old-fashioned way. I go look in the Pacman cache for the old version of the package and manually install it to revert whatever the issue is. Mostly, if there's an issue, you can fix it yourself, or I can fix it myself. But very rarely I need to revert, then I do that. I just manually revert that particular package that's causing a problem and put a note in the pacman conf file that this thing should not be upgraded. And I slot it. I use the WezTerm slot, which is from Gen 2, but the Arch equivalent. I masked it or whatever it's called. And then, that's fine. It's worked great for me. I run, my servers have like multi-year uptimes, and my laptop has typically a month or two of uptime. It ends up getting rebooted because I take it somewhere and switch it off or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really, yeah, like you said, I seem stable. So my computing experience is very stable.
Okay.
I stick with Arch because it works. It's stable for me. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but at least for me, it's really stable.
Okay. And have you thought about this other one out there? OS? Yeah, it's an operating system. Nix, that everyone talks about. You should move to Nix. Have you heard about it? Do you have any thoughts?
So I'm probably going to get flamed for this, but I find NixOS is an unnecessary complication. It's like a whole extra layer on top of the base system that gives you some good things. It gives you reproducibility and the ability to roll back and stuff like that, and that's great. But I don't think it's worth the complication. So again, this is a personal thing. I'm not saying this is true for anybody else, but I find that Linux by itself is pretty easy to maintain and to keep functional. So given that you don't really need. I don't really need what NixOS gives you, and so I find that the extra complication from it is not worth the benefit for me.
As a single user, right? If you're a user that maintains, I don't use Nix, and I'm not planning on using Nix, but I would say that if you maintain, I don't know, 200 computers and you need to clone them, all at once, probably could be useful. But other than that, on your single computer using Nix, does it make a lot of sense?
No, to me it doesn't. So I actually was the sysadmin for the particle theory group at Caltech. So I used to maintain about 50 desktops and a couple of supercomputers. And I think back then, there was obviously no Nix. As far as I remember, we used to use Red Hat, and I used to have a script that would get the system to the state I wanted it in. And so, if a computer was terminally broken, I would just take off the user data from the home partition and then wipe it and reinstall with my script and put back the data.
A bash script.
And I think it was a Python script. I don't remember now. Actually, this is a long time ago. But that was my experience with running a fleet of computers, a small fleet, 50 computers. But yeah, I found even there that was enough. And so, most of these computers were used by the faculty and students, and they didn't really screw up so much. I didn't give them root access, so
they couldn't do much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and these were physicists. They weren't computer geeks. They didn't want to keep installing software and trying new things and shit like that. They just wanted a stable system that worked well.
Okay.
It worked out fine.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on macOS? I noticed that you use macOS. How do you run macOS, by the way? Because in the last time that you shared your screen, I saw that you were running macOS. How do you run it?
I actually have an eBook. I need to have both Windows and macOS computers for Calibre, actually, because Calibre deals with devices that connect via USB. So I need to have actual computers to test things on.
Okay.
So I have those, but in addition, I run both macOS and Windows in QEMU VMs.
Oh,
so both Calibre and Kitty are actually built via operating systems in QEMU VMs that run on a server somewhere in the cloud. So it's kind of like a CI service. But again, this thing existed about a decade before CI services existed. So I've been doing that since then, and
okay,
it works for me, so I keep doing it.
Because I run macOS as a virtual machine in Proxmox, but there's a limitation in macOS with the 7 megabytes of VRAM, and it feels really slow. Have you encountered that issue on macOS?
So I don't use it as a GUI. I use it headless.
Oh, the macOS just headless?
The VMs are just headless. The actual MacBook Air that I have, that's where I test the GUI things. So for me, the QEMU VMs are all headless. Both the Windows and the Mac OS VMs are headless. I SSH into them and run my build jobs or test jobs or whatever it is.
So just in the terminal then? Like the Mac OS one, for example? So what? Oh.
Just in the terminal. So it runs an SSH server. So what I do is I install it in QEMU using the GUI. And yes, the performance sucks. There's no USB. There's no video acceleration. But this is for the installation. So you don't really need performance there. And then once it's installed, I set up the SSH server. And then I just log out and reboot into it headless. And then I do everything from the SSH terminal.
Oh, okay. And what are your thoughts on macOS then?
I have never used macOS beyond for supporting Calibre and Kitty. So I'm not really qualified to comment on it. One thing I will say is I don't like I told you I'm a tinkerer. I like to be able to change things. And Apple is kind of a bit of a control
restrictive.
Yep. It doesn't like you to change things so much. So that kind of is against my personal philosophy. So that's why I never even really looked at macOS much. It's attractive that it's a stable system that has a Unix foundation. But again, like I said, for me personally, I find Linux to be quite stable. So, I've not really looked into macOS. But I mean, if it works for you, that's great. I'm very much of the philosophy that you should use what works for you.
Yeah.
I don't like to be prescriptive about it. I
Yeah.
can tell you what works for me, but everybody's different.
For video, macOS works for me, but I've been thinking about switching to Linux, but because if I do these type of stuff, the videos, I would find a little bit of limitations. They're like my phone is my camera right now, and it's natively picked up by the computer, right? So if I switch to Linux, would have to find a different camera. So yeah, if I wouldn't do YouTube, I would be on Linux, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure you can get your phone to be a camera on Linux as well. I don't remember the name now, but there is some app you can install on Android phones that allows you to use it as a
People have mentioned that. Yeah. Maybe
yes,
I'm just finding excuses.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. You have a system that works for you that's set up. I mean, there's a big cost to moving, so
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And what are your thoughts on Windows? Do you like Windows?
So I have mad respect for Microsoft maintaining backward compatibility across Windows versions. So, it's the only system compared to macOS or Linux where an application that was compiled 20 years ago is still likely to work. That said, the flip side of that is that the actual APIs in Windows are a horrendous mess. And because it's the only non-Unix host system, so everything is different. For example, something that really gets my goat in Calibre in Windows is it has mandatory file locking. So if a file is open in one program, no other program can access it. You don't tend to realize that, but when you're writing a program that manages files, it's a huge pain. For example, in Calibre, say you change the title of a book. So the location on the file system where it's stored, it changes because the folder name contains the title, or the file name contains the title. Now, if a user happens to have, say, opened that folder in Explorer or opened the eBook in some program, the rename operation fails.
Like a PDF. Let's say they have it open as a PDF in their PDF tool.
So the rename operation fails, and it's insane. It's really difficult to write. It's really difficult to write robust file operations on Windows because, ironically, the whole point of mandatory file locking is supposed to be more robust, but in a lot of situations, it ends up being less robust. You actually have to sometimes reboot Windows to complete file move operations. What's that? For a long time, there's this meme that every time Windows updates, you have to reboot it. A big reason for that is these mandatory file logs. Anyway, that's my criticism of Windows. But like I said, I have mad respect for the level of backward compatibility it maintains. And it is the most successful and most popular operating system out there. So.
Okay. Now, you mentioned as well about the servers that you run. Do you have a home lab or something?
No, these are all in the clouds. I use OVH nowadays. I used to be a Rackspace user, and before that, a Slice host user. And now it's just OVH. So the one in the cloud. I do have like 6 network computers at home, but I won't call it a home lab.
Okay. And on your keyboard, do you use QWERTY or you use a different layout?
QWERTY.
Yeah. Why didn't you go to one of the exotic ones?
I never felt the cost was worth the game. The disruption if the teachers have to type again, and not all the way, but quite a bit. And I don't thought the benefit was that. So I know a lot of people obsess about typing, but I don't think typing, at least for me, is a bottleneck. When I'm coding, I'm thinking, designing things in my mind. The speed at which I type is really not a bottleneck or a constraint. I do find keeping my fingers on the keyboard to be good. I don't like to switch to the mouse. I told you I don't even have a mouse. I have a track point, so I don't have to switch to that. And that is one of the reasons that I like terminal workflows and that. But beyond that, I don't think typing, at least for me, is a bottleneck. I just I find that type fast enough. I'm not a fast typer, but I'm fast enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to wrap it up, Kovid, just questions that are not tech related. Are there 2 movies that you want to share with us? Movies that you like?
Movies.
Yeah.
Recent movies?
or your favorite
Um,
movies of all time?
well, speaking of favorite movies, the movie that gave me the courage to take the leap from grad school to Calibre was, funnily enough, a movie called Frost Nixon, which was about Nixon, the U.S. president, and a journalist named Frost who interviewed him. And he had to, I don't remember the details now, this was 20 years ago, but that movie sort of inspired me, gave me the courage to do yes, that's the movie, what I really wanted to do. And so that's a movie I recommend everybody watch. Then another favorite movie of mine is Dr. Zhivago.
Doctor?
This Zhivago. It's an old movie. It was starring Omar Sharif, I think. Yes, this one. Yes, so this was I actually love the novel and the movie, so I really recommend everybody read the novel and watch the movie.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And what type of music are you into? Do you want to share with us two of your favorite bands?
I'm not much of a musical person.
No?
I don't listen to music very often.
No,
So, yeah.
you cannot concentrate and listen to music
No.
and work at the same time.
I find one type of music that kind of works for that is Gregorian chant, especially monks. But that's it. But yeah, I don't normally listen to music. I sometimes listen to music when I'm working out, but even that I don't normally do. So I'm very much of the sort of mindset, I guess, that you need to focus on what you're doing, one thing at a time. So I like to give my full focus to whatever I'm doing. If I'm listening to music, I only listen to music. If I'm
can you do
doing something else?
Can you do multiple things at once?
I'm very bad at doing multiple things.
Me neither. If I'm talking on the phone, right, or I'm talking on the phone and my wife talks to me, she's gone. I may look at her, but I'm not there, so I cannot, and she can do those things. She can be talking and doing something else. Me, I can't. Are you good with that?
No, I'm the same way. I can't do much. I actually find women tend to be better than men at this kind of thing, but they're not sure multitaskers. I don't know. But yeah, I personally can't.
Okay.
I have to do one thing at a time.
Okay. Now, to wrap it up then, what is the best way? Let's say that someone finds Calibre. Calibre is an amazing first grade tool. My wife used it and she's like, man, this is amazing. It should be more popular. You should be a millionaire because of this tool. Just Calibre itself, right? Is Kitty your tool to work in Calibre, or how does that work? Is Kitty your tool basically? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, Kitty is written, as I told you, mostly because I wanted to use terminal and I didn't find the existing terminals good enough. And I'm very much a terminal workflow person. So Kitty, facilitates my workflows and makes me more efficient at working on everything, including Calibre. But yes, and at this point, it's fun. It's just something I do as a fun side project. Kitty is my fun side project. Calibre is my day job.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the best way then to support you? Going to GitHub and donating there, or in the Patreon? Because you have a Patreon for Calibre, I think, right? So
yes.
What's the best way?
Whatever works for you. But if you go to the Calibre website, you can make a donation by PayPal, by credit card, by Patreon, by GitHub sponsors. It's all there. Whatever works for you, it's gratefully received. I've been working full time on open source, supported by donations, for now 20 years almost. So I hope to continue doing so for many years more.
Awesome, Kovid. So, any final words before we wrap it up then?
Thanks for listening. I hope I was a little interesting, and keep up your interest, keep thinking, keep tinkering, keep discovering new tools, keep fooling around, having fun. Remember that the reason that we are all into computers is because it's fun, and don't lose that sense of fun, and have fun and enjoy yourselves.
All right, Kovid. Really appreciate it. Have a great Sunday,
Mhm.
man.
Thanks for having me. You too.